What is the theory of evolution? I guarantee that you know what it is, but do you really understand its institutional foundation? When I was at the tender age of 5, I decided to believe in it. I spent all my time drawing futuristic, evolved beings, and even started writing screenplays with a basis in this. It was my obsession. It wasn't until a decade and a half later that I had to admit I was wrong all this time. I felt sorrow for all these years I lived within a lie, and now it's my obsession to uncover this formidable deception that enslaves many minds. I took to the super informational highway, debating on the forums for hours each day. It did not take me long to find out that even when you are 100% right, and the others are dead wrong, they would sooner die than admit it. To not critically think about this subject is to be labeled a passively minded idiot. To seek the truth on any subject is to find the holes in the popular theory, and this is what I am doing tonight. In order to believe what our textbooks tell us, we must believe in abiogenesis. And the chances of this happening? Astronomical, if not impossible. This process has never been observed or repeated, and in order for it to be science, it must either be observed or repeated. So, as the instantly made single-celled organism mitotically multiplies, its genes go under random mutations. Some help the life form, which make it reproduce more, overturning the population into the enhanced version. So it's just a continual genetic upgrade. Just to point this out, no observed mutation has been beneficial, nor do the mutations add to the pattern. It only distorts or removes. Over the years, this primordial being transforms into shoe crabs, crustaceans, plants, bacteria, and protists, fungi, and eventually making fish. These fish somehow learned to breathe air and became amphibians, and these amphibians learned to live from wet environments and became reptiles, and these reptiles split off into birds. At this point, I can already destroy the theory for science, and if you listen with an open mind, I can destroy it for you too. Okay? Alright. Remember, it's fish, frog, reptile, bird, mammal, in that very order. The order is very important because when the fish, a scaly beast, turns into an amphibian, a permeable skinned beast, and turns back into a scaly beast as a reptile, or from scales to no scales and back to scales, common sense dictates that a completely random process such as macroevolution would never reemerge the exact same trait if already lost. If I cut off my arm, it won't bounce off the ground and fuse itself back onto my torso. Excuse this ridiculous analogy, but the fact is, this ordering is ridiculous. And to further ridicule this scientific religion, I will point your attention to this part of the Tree of Life, which, by the way, was a phrase ripped off of Kabbalism. Both birds and mammals are warm-blooded. That must be the biggest coincidence in history. There is an assload of differences in anatomy between a cold blood and a warm blood. Yet, in an atheistic miracle of a way, both types of animals became warm bloods from a cold blood. Praise almighty atheismo for this blessing, because birds could not fly without warm muscles, and mammals could not survive freezing environments without generating heat. And the amazements don't cease here. To push the impossibility envelope even further, mammals decided to start flying and squeaking too for their meals. So that makes reptiles, fish, insects, avians, and mammals that have developed the ability to fly, and when outrageous coinkydinks in nature happen, evolutionists call it convergent. So what, is the fish, frog, snake, scale thing a retrograde conversion? Also care to explain why all these ancient cultures believed so deeply in giant lizards that they called dragons if dinosaurs were supposed to die out millions of years ago? Why are there so many sculptures and cave drawings of beasts which so resemble dinosaurs? There must be a conspiracy going on. A movie like Jurassic Park tries to illustrate why man could not live with dinosaurs because they must be so hostile. Hippopotamuses are hostile. I am sure an unlucky individual would get devoured sometimes. It's just one of those ain't life a bitch moments which continue to today, but consider the size of their brains. They're squishy walnuts. It couldn't have been hard to evade a man-eating dino. Compare it to a tiger, which can outrun and outclimb you and is very intelligent, or a bear, which can do the same. There's no surviving an encounter with these unarmed. So how is this any better? You best evaluate your beliefs. If evolution were true, then how can we experience? How do we have consciousness? A robot does not have consciousness. It just carries out electronic commands in a perfectly predictable matrix of pre-programming. However, a brainwashing piece of visual programming called the Terminator asserts that the only difference between a man and a machine is the level of complexity. Par exemple, if a computer was smart enough, it could synthesize the so-called soul. We can't even make robotic dogs realistic and with all our know-how. It's the complexity of the simplest brains that we haven't even scratched the surface on. Computers can compute faster than humans, but they cannot reason or visualize to solve practical problems. They can only follow patterns. The fact that you are here and you know it is a miracle. The fact that you can hear and remember the meaning of the words and see and recognize the patterns of colors and shapes is a true miracle. There is not only an intelligent brain in your head, but there is a real conscious being called the soul, which gives your physical body a purpose to live. I've done my homework. I've proven my theories over and over again, and yet you cannot even prove one. It's time you made yourself a student again. Don't be one of the flock of retard dildos. There are too many of them. They have overpopulated and ravaged the logic of the land. Be a graceful human with purpose who can discern the bullshit from the real shit. Bullshit point number 1. We have 95% of the same genes as chimps. I've heard this one way too many times. We have 40% of the same genes as fish, and 70% of the same genes as bananas. According to the tree, we are closer to fish than plants by far. The proof is in the pudding, if that colloquialism is applicable in this context. Darwinists, you just got served.